They want to suck a person dry. They call them energy vampires, right? They want to take your energy from you. If they can't have that, they don't want you to have it either. Hey everybody, welcome back. We are going to be doing something very interesting for the next few videos. We're going to start a new series examining Paul's writings through the lens of narcissistic personality disorder. Now, this is something that I don't know if it's ever been done before, but having had a recent experience with a person who displayed all the symptoms of narcissistic personality disorder, and I was launched head first into this mind-boggling world, I was forced to go down the rabbit hole and spend hours and hours and hours researching narcissistic personality disorder. And once I gained enough information, at some point in time, it hit me like a semi-truck that Paul himself exhibited these symptoms. And I had such mental clarity once I realized this. I said, oh my gosh, this explains why Paul was so successful. Because you see, many narcissists are actually cult leaders. And they're pretty successful because many people think that, a narcissist or even a psychopath, a sociopath, people with personality disorders must be mean and they must have a very nasty appearance. But the answer is no. These people are generally very charismatic. They ooze charm. They have a way with people, and people just become entranced with them. So con men who have personality disorders are generally very, very successful, given the right circumstances. So this is going to be an interesting topic of discussion, and because narcissistic personality disorder is a huge topic, and Paul, of course, is a huge topic, it's going to take us several videos to get through that. So in this specific video, we're going to start out not speaking so much about Paul, but I'm going to give you a basic overview of what narcissistic personality disorder is. So let's start first with the question, what does the word narcissist mean? So the word narcissist actually comes from Greek mythology. There was a character named Narcissus, and he was one day looking into a pool of water where he saw his reflection for the first time. And when he saw his reflection, he couldn't tear himself away. He became so obsessed with himself that he starved and died by thirst because he neglected his own needs, just because he was so taken with this outer image of himself. So the word narcissist emerged from the word Narcissus, which is the Greek mythological character, and it came to mean a person who is obsessed with themselves. Now, this is a word that people can use in everyday speech. They can say, oh, you're so narcissistic or whatever. But the truth is, everybody has some narcissistic traits. Narcissism is a spectrum, and some people are more narcissistic, they're more concerned with self, and other people are less narcissistic. But outside of the spectrum of narcissistic traits, there actually is something called narcissistic personality disorder, and that is something completely separate. If a person's narcissistic personality disorder, they have the disorder. They're not just on that spectrum. Now, in order to receive a diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder, a medical professional needs to evaluate them, and they will find that the person exhibits very specific symptoms and very specific behavior patterns. Now, according to the DSM-5, which puts out the criteria of diagnosis, there are 9 different symptoms that the person has to display. I personally believe that for the layperson, it's actually easier to look at the behavior patterns and then look at the diagnostic criteria. So we're going to be speaking about both. But first, let's go through the diagnostic criteria, and bear in mind that a person doesn't have to meet every single bullet point. They only have to meet 5 of these qualifications in order to receive the diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder. So let's go through them. Number 1, having a grandiose sense of self-importance, such as exaggerating achievements and talents, expecting to be recognized as superior even without commensurate achievements. These guys have huge heads. They think that they are God's gift to mankind. They believe that they are the best in everything that they do. Well, maybe not everything they do. Some narcissists will actually have a false humility, number 1, so you don't necessarily see that they have this big head. But also, if it's not something that threatens their ego, they might be willing to not have the biggest name in that specific field. But if it is a field in which they want everybody to know that they're the best, if you challenge that in any way, if you say, you know what, you're really not the best, it's very, very painful for a narcissist, and they might go cuckoo from it. So yes, they have this grandiose sense of self-importance, and like they might say, oh, I have millions of books sold, when really they have like 300 books sold. I don't know, whatever. I'm just giving you an example. They're going to exaggerate their achievements. They're going to say, oh, I got my PhD at Harvard, when they might have just been there for a summer program. Like they're just gonna like blow things up in order to meet their grandiose image. Okay, preoccupation with fantasies of success, power, beauty, or idealization. These guys are constantly brainstorming, how can I make my image better? I have to move up. I have to do more. Like I have to be more. I have to make sure everybody sees that I am absolutely the pinnacle of success or the pinnacle of beauty. And these guys will ruthlessly pursue it, even without regard to moral boundaries many times or so. Power is very, very, very important to a narcissist. They have to be in control of things. And if they lose control, you can actually see them like freaking out. They have to be in control. Like the hardest word for a narcissist is no or boundaries. I don't want to hear about boundaries. That's something that if you tell a narcissist, I have boundaries, you're done. Like they hate that, okay? Now, when it comes to beauty, there are some narcissists that are so obsessed with their personal appearance that they will actually have cosmetic surgery. They will have a facelift. They will do a tummy tuck. They will go for weight loss surgery, Botox, whatever it is. They will alter their appearance in order to appear more beautiful. Now, this is both for their personal satisfaction to be more beautiful, but it's also to gain more supply. And we will speak about what that term means soon. All right, the next one, belief in being special and that they can only be understood by or associated with other high status people or institutions. All right, because these guys are God's gift to mankind, they are not in a category with other people. There are other people and then there are them. And of course, that means that they don't have to play by the rules. They are outside the realm of the rest of humanity. And in a narcissist's mind, they're kind of like a godlike figure. You see, a narcissist lives in a fantasy world. And I think we should speak a little bit about what actually forms a narcissist. Now, there are different opinions of what specifically is a triggering factor of what causes narcissistic personality disorder, also known as NPD. But there seems to be a very, very common theme that NPD emerges after a young child has experienced extreme trauma. Now, we don't know exactly what the critical factor is. There are different theories. But some children can't handle the trauma overload, and their body has to put up defense mechanisms. And they literally spend their childhood living in survival mode. And it's a very, very sad thing that a child should ever suffer so that they have to put up these defense mechanisms. But while they are functioning in survival mode and they're going through this developmental period, their brain actually forms differently from other people. And if you look at scans, you can see that the amygdala, the prefrontal cortex, many times will be different from other people's. Moreover, there will be reduced gray matter in the brain. And that's something that we will speak about soon. But some of the defense mechanisms that a person with a narcissistic personality disorder develops is the ability to disassociate, to take themselves out of the situation, right? So sometimes if you're sitting with a person with narcissistic personality disorder, you'll feel like you're sitting with a shell of a body, and they are somewhere far, far, far away, escaping the world of pain or submerged in a different world than you are in. Many times, to prevent the pain from deeply penetrating them, they will actually have amnesia. They will have blank spots inside of their memory, and then what a person with narcissistic personality disorder will often do is they will confabulate. They will go back and they will develop a plausible explanation for what happened during that memory gap, and they absorb that into themselves and it becomes their truth. Even if you know that has nothing to do with reality, that's the story that they told themselves, that's the story that they accepted, and they become a part of that lie. Like they absorb it into themselves and that becomes their truth. Other things that are defense mechanisms. These children who are trying to survive traumatic situations, they will learn how to observe people. They will be very in tune to micro expressions. They will be in tune to people's emotions, to their feelings in order to survive, because they don't know what is my abuser going to be like today, right? Especially if this was a situation in which there was a lot of changing of emotions or so, then the child has to be on very high guard, and they will learn how to analyze people, and they will learn how to push the right buttons to get certain reactions out of people, whether good or bad. So during this developmental process and during this extreme trauma, something happens inside of this child. They develop a bunch of defense mechanisms, but they don't develop their own personal ego. Now that sounds kind of interesting because narcissists are believed to have gigantic egos, but it's not really their ego. It's a super ego that becomes gigantic, grandiose. It's a facade, it's a mask, it's a persona that they develop that is based upon other people's reactions, right? They will develop a persona that they have seen is received positively by other people. If they say this, they get a positive reaction, they get admiration, praise, loyalty, they get treated very well. So they will simply be acting out in a manner that people appreciate. So this creates a certain type of God-like image inside of their own mind. And they know it's not really themselves because it takes work to maintain this image. But inside of themselves, the child who is developing narcissistic personality disorder is really shriveling inside. And a person with narcissistic personality disorder really has no idea who they are. They are just surviving with these defense mechanisms on a daily basis, and it takes energy to maintain that persona, and moreover that persona can actually be modified to different people in different situations. If they see that somebody doesn't like their main persona, they will modify it, they will mirror and match, and they will become what other people want them to be. They usually develop attachment to one main persona, and again, that persona could be completely different than who they are actually inside. Let's say that persona could be somebody who is very moral, somebody who is a do-gooder. Whereas behind the scenes, once they take off that mask, they can really be extremely abusive. They have no morality whatsoever. They can just be hurting people, attacking animals, whatever it is. They can be incredibly cruel people. So there is this dissonance when it comes to narcissistic personality disorder. There's the mask, and there is the very angry, very not like the mask person, okay? Very important to know. But because they have this carefully crafted mask, they will uphold this mask, this persona, this image as this perfect thing. And they want everybody else to recognize this persona that they have created to also be perfect. And they really want you to come worship that persona together with them. We'll speak more about that when we speak about the shared fantasy. Okay, next one, demanding excessive admiration. Oh, so we were just now talking about this. In order to maintain the persona, it takes energy, and energy is received through narcissistic supply. Now, narcissistic supply comes in different forms. Very frequently comes in the form of admiration. When a person with narcissistic personality disorder who really knows not who they are inside, but they do know that their persona is upheld by admiration and praise and accolades, then they will actively seek that admiration. You see, a narcissist, when admiration is taken away from them, they will not be able to energize themselves. They become very depressed, they function slowly, they're not capable of, moving at a decent speed. They're run down. But when you give them admiration, it just lifts them up. I mean, everybody is that way on a certain level. Again, we all have narcissistic personality traits in certain manners, but a narcissist cannot function without that admiration. And if they're not getting admiration, they at least want emotional reactivity. So either you love them or you hate them, but they have to be significant. Otherwise, they have to face the fact that they feel like a nothing inside. Narcissistic personality disorder at its core is a shame disorder. And it's people who really don't believe that they are worth anything. And that's something that I want to say, everybody is worth something. That's one of the big debates out in the world of narcissistic personality disorder discussion groups. People are like, oh, do these guys even have a soul? I mean, they don't seem to have a heart once you get to know them, but do they even have a soul? And I want to answer that, yes. People with narcissistic personality disorder do have a soul. They are created in the image of God, and they have a soul, they have a divine spark inside of them. The problem is that they also have different brain formations. They have different behavior patterns that developed because of this, because they were living in survival mode. And they many times behave horrifically. But here's the thing, a person with narcissistic personality disorder, if they're self-aware and they seek treatment, they can't cure it. They can't change the brain formation. But what they can do is that they can manage the symptoms, they can manage the reactions. They can become better behaved people. And I would say that it doesn't really matter if a person is working with a deficit in this area. They don't have the same brain formation as everybody else. They are still obligated in moral obligations no matter what. And if they are outside the bounds of those moral obligations, they have to realize that they're responsible for their behaviors. And if they break laws, for instance, yes, they should be imprisoned. If they are going around hurting people, that is not okay. It is abusive. A person who developed narcissistic personality disorder because they were abused, that's a terrible tragedy, and nobody should ever have to go through that. However, a person is a victim only up until the point that they become an abuser themselves. And then, I'm sorry, you're a perpetrator and you are to be held accountable for your behavior. So don't go playing the pity card, which is something that a lot of covert narcissists will do, and we will speak about that soon. The covert narcissists are the biggest victims around, and when they don't feel that they're getting enough admiration, or even if they're not getting enough hatred, then they're going to play up the pity card. Oh, I'm going through something so difficult in my life. Somebody hurt me so badly when I was a child. You know, they want your emotional support. They want your pity, your compassion, okay? It fuels them. Other sources of supply are sex. Many narcissists are extremely promiscuous. Even if they present themselves as being very moral on the outside, they're extremely promiscuous. Many of them have sex addictions. Many of them also have gambling addictions, drug addictions, but that's not where we're going right now. So other forms of narcissistic supply are money. If somebody gives them money, you know, they support them with their services. They're going to cook and clean for them. They're going to do the laundry for them. That can be a reason that a narcissist stays with a person, because they're getting some form of supply. And of course, safety. Here's a very big one. If a narcissist feels safe with somebody, they feel that you don't see through their facade, or they feel that you see through their facade and you're going to support them no matter what, you're going to enable them, then they're going to feel safe with you, and they will probably keep you in their group without discarding you, okay? And this is a very, very big issue that I want to speak to enablers about. People think, you know, like if a narcissist does something wrong, they're consistently hurting people, you know, oh, we just have to give them more love, we have to give them more compassion. What you are actually doing at that point in time is you are enabling them, you are fueling them, you are giving them supply, you're enabling them to go out and to make more victims. So if you don't want to be part of the problem, what you need to do with a narcissist is to go completely no contact, or to expose them, to speak out. Now, exposing a narcissist is something that comes with massive ramifications. It can lead to personal safety issues, and it can also lead to publicly shaming a person. That's something that should not be taken lightly. So that's something that has to be evaluated, taken into consideration. There are laws about shaming other people publicly. There are times that it should be done, and there are times that it should not be done, and I am not the one to make those decisions. Okay, a sense of entitlement. Because narcissists believe that they are God's gift to mankind, and they believe that they are removed from the rest of humanity and they don't have to play by the rules of the rest of humanity, that means that they are in a special category all by themselves. You know, they have this godlike persona, and that godlike persona can take whatever they want in order to support it however they want. And they will go and use the next bullet point, they will use exploitation behaviors in order to receive whatever they want if it's not forthcoming in a very easy manner. And sometimes even if it is, because many narcissists actually enjoy playing mind games. And mind games are a huge part of narcissistic abuse. They will literally manipulate in ways that you never imagined in order to get a reaction out of you, in order to feel superior, in order to feel in control. They will make you feel like a worthless piece of garbage just in order to get a boost from your pain, okay? Narcissists are very frequently abusers unless they have sought help and they're actively trying to stop that behavior. And the reason for this is because deep down, a narcissist feels that they are completely worthless. And deep down, they really, really hate themselves. They are ashamed of themselves. And that core wound is so, so deep. And it develops because of the abuse that they suffered. They were made to feel that they were worthless from a very young age. And that's really, really, really traumatic. And no child should ever be made to feel that. And because they never developed a core identity, they live their entire life with this horrific shame and with this bottled up rage and frustration, and very frequently post-traumatic stress disorder that was never dealt with as a child. They didn't have the resources, they didn't have the support. So they've got a lot of really negative feelings inside of them. And that's one of the things that actually enables them to go and do horrific things to other people. Moreover, they have the next bullet point very frequently, the lack of empathy. Now, this goes back to low gray matter inside of the brain. Gray matter is responsible for empathetic feelings. And if you have low gray matter, you generally have low empathy. Now, this is a spectrum. Some narcissists have more empathy, some narcissists have less empathy. And some narcissists have what's called cognitive empathy. Like they can look at you and they can understand what you must be feeling, but they can't feel it themselves, right? They can't align their feelings with you. So there's a spectrum, but in general, narcissists have to have a low level of empathy in order to engage in manipulative behaviors, right? They can kind of look at you as a science project. If they push this button, what is going to be the reaction? If they do this, can they make you cry? Can they make you be in pain? Can they make you writhe in agony? And then they could just watch you like, oh yeah, I did that, right? It's part of the game. All right, arrogant, haughty behaviors and attitudes. This is a very, very big one, but it's one that can be somewhat masked at times. See, there are different types of narcissists. There's the grandiose narcissist, which is the guy that walks out. He's strutting his stuff. He is very, very powerful, very loud, very brash, easy to recognize. And then there is the covert narcissist. That's not a clinical term, but that is how it's generally known on the street. It's also called a fragile narcissist or a vulnerable narcissist. So these guys are the ones who have grandiosity in kind of a different sense. They're the biggest victims around. They're approachable. They are not necessarily seen as having a big head. Very frequently, they do make a powerful appearance when they come into a room, but they're not loud, they're not brash. They still have that big head, but it's more hidden inside of them. And they can be very approachable, very down to earth at times. And you can really just feel like you're just talking to a person who is, they have some kind of power, they have some kind of charisma, they have some kind of charm that is very often associated with narcissistic personality disorder, but they won't necessarily display the same grandiosity externally that the grandiose narcissist will display. All right, envy towards others or belief that others are envious of them. Okay, there's two different things that I want to speak about here. Number one, the envy towards others, again, the jealousy, hatred, shame, anger, rage, narcissistic rage. If you trigger them, you can see the anger in their eyes. Even if they can't publicly express it, right? You can just feel the vibes coming off of them, the intensity. And that envy, they want to be you. If they see somebody with something that they are lacking, they want it, right? They see that you have a spark. They see that you have joy in your life. And these guys are just cesspits of shame and pain. And they hate the fact that you have the ability to enjoy life. And they want to steal it from you. It's part of getting their supply. They want to suck a person dry. They call them energy vampires, right? They want to take your energy from you. If they can't have that, they don't want you to have it either. Moreover, they think that everybody's out to get them. Frequently, they will actually suffer from paranoia. Being a narcissist sounds like being in a very, very painful prison. I pity a narcissist. I really pity them up until the point that they become an abuser. And again, then I'm not going to give them any compassion. I'm going to say, straighten yourself out, go get help, and then you'll be my hero. Once you get help to stop acting so badly, then I can have compassion for everything you've suffered. But if you're not going to do that, you're just going to go be a monster, I'm sorry, you don't deserve compassion. All right, let's move on. Behavior patterns. Narcissists are some of the most predictable people on the face of the planet once you understand how their brain works. They literally follow specific behavior patterns. And we're not going to speak so much about specific behaviors, which we will do in coming videos when we examine the behaviors of Paul. We're going to speak about patterns right now. So when you're in a relationship with a narcissist, the relationship, if you have been chosen to be a specific victim of theirs, the relationship is going to follow a specific pattern. Now, this pattern will start with something called the idealization stage or the love bombing stage. Right? Let's say a victim is being groomed towards submitting themselves romantically, okay? The narcissist is going to start out making them feel super, super, super special. Now, this narcissist, remember, they are masters at learning how to read people. They're going to watch you before they really, really begin their love bombing. They're going to see how you interact with the world, what matters to you, what your values are. And they are going to craft a persona. They are going to change a language. They are going to pretend to have different beliefs maybe. They're going to show you that they have different interests. They are going to craft a persona that will be likable to you. And then they're going to come and they're going to create a sense of likeness. They're going to develop rapport with you. They want you to feel that you have found your soulmate. Like, this is the person who understands me, who gets me in a way that nobody else has. And they are going to start showering you with compliments. They're going to build you up. They're going to make you feel like, wow, this is unbelievable. Somebody really is there for me. They're going to tell you things like, I have your back. I'm always going to be here for you, right? And they're just going to make it this really intense, super, super special feeling. And that is one of the things that you can pick up on when it comes to narcissistic abuse. Like, the intensity of the relationship with this person is something like you've never felt before. It's just like overwhelmingly powerful. And it's made to feel that way. Because what the narcissist wants to do is they want you to become addicted to them. And that's what literally happens inside of a narcissistic abuse relationship. What happens is when you're getting so much compliments, when you're getting so much attention, so much kindness, so much understanding, so much compassion, somebody sees you for who you really are, they see the good points, then what happens is you get a dopamine hit inside of your brain, or you get oxytocin, the combination of the two, and you feel on top of the world. And when this goes on and goes on and goes on for a period of time, it's like this constant flowing of happy hormones inside of your head, and you get addicted to that, and you want more and more and more of it. You want to continue the relationship. Now, when it is in the love bombing stage, what the narcissist wants to do, other than giving you dopamine hits and oxytocin hits, what they want to do is they want to bring you into their fantasy world. They actually want you to live your life in a state of trance. Now, people think of trance as being like, like yoga, that sort of thing. But trance doesn't mean that. Trance means that you are focused on one specific object and your vision narrows. You begin to focus more and more intensely on that one specific object, that one specific person. And there are different ways to induce trance. People can use conversational hypnosis. They can use religious experiences. Many narcissists train in something called neuro-linguistic programming, which teaches them how to actually easily put people into a state of trance. And there are different techniques for this. But the point is the goal is to get you to live your life in an extended state of trance. They want everything to fade away. They want to isolate you. And sometimes they'll even tell you things like, don't associate with this person. They're crazy. Don't talk to that person. And they will many times begin texting you at all hours of the day and night. And they will just make you think about them constantly. That is their goal. They should be the person that you rely on totally. They should be the person you turn to for all of your happy hormones, okay? Trance. They want you to enter their fantasy world. You should live on a different plane together with them. And what is this fantasy world? This fantasy world is basically worshiping the godlike image of the false persona, okay? They know that that's not who they really are, but they love that false persona because it gets them attention. And they want you to come into their fantasy world and worship the false persona together with them. Okay, so you enter this matrix of narcissists' mind control. It is very, very overwhelming and intense and mind-boggling. And if you have never experienced it, you cannot understand what is being said. If you have experienced it, you're nodding your head. You're saying, yeah, it is crazy. Crazy is the word for it. Many people feel that they're actually losing themselves. They feel that they are no longer thinking in the same way that they used to be thinking. They feel that their brain is being colonized by the person with narcissistic personality traits, narcissistic personality disorder. They begin to think like them. They begin to value things like them. They begin to mirror them. And that's one thing that narcissists really enjoy. They enjoy creating clones of themselves. And then they enjoy telling people, oh, you don't have any original thoughts inside of your head. I birthed you. Things like that, right? Those are the kind of things that give a narcissist pleasure. All right, so we have the idealization stage. the love bombing stage. That's a stage when a narcissist might actually have very fond feelings towards you. They might be in limerence. They might have this overwhelming desire for you, okay? Because when they saw you and they decided that they wanted to make you their victim, they took a mental snapshot of you. They put it inside of their mind and they said, oh, this is the perfect person. They put them up on a pedestal and they idolized you. But there comes a point in time where the narcissist realizes, oh my gosh, you're not exactly like that picture. You lied to me. You're actually a normal person. I thought that you were also a special person, kind of like me. You might be deserving of my attention. And then they move into the next stage once they realize that you're a human being and you have your flaws. Then they move into what's called the devaluation stage. Now, this devaluation stage is created to make you feel like you are less than, okay? They're going to start making you feel like you're not smart, you're not pretty, you're not whatever. They will devalue you in different ways. It can be through negative comments, it can be through backhanded compliments, it can be through gaslighting, through making you question your reality. It can be through giving you menial tasks. They can tell you, oh, do this for me, Google this for me, or call that person for me. Things that they really could do themselves, but they want to be in that position of control. They want you to know that there's a gap between you and them. You are subordinate. You are subservient to them. Lying. Lying is a big one with narcissists. Narcissists are pathological liars. They're going to lie to you about everything. And that's going to be part of the gaslighting. They want you to question reality. Like they could say in public that, I don't know, like, I don't eat a certain type of cheese when you happen to know that it's their favorite cheese in the entire world. Stupid, stupid stuff. So you just like, you don't know what to believe, what is true, what is not true. And that's part of the process because they want you to question your sanity. And they're going to actually use that against you in the future when it comes to the discard stage because they don't want you to realize that you are being abused all this time. They want you to think that everything was your fault because that's one of the major things about a narcissist is they always project their wrongdoings on other people. They don't want to deal with the guilt and the shame themselves of what they did wrong, so they're going to say it was your fault. And we'll speak more about that soon. Another very, very big way that narcissists will devalue you is ignoring you, okay? You could send them messages and you can see that they read it, you can see that they listened to it, but they're not replying to you. They're just ignoring you. Or if you're sitting next to somebody, you could be talking to them and they could just pretend not to hear you, right? They hear every single word, they're storing it in their memory and they're finding a way to use it against you in the future. But they want you to feel that you are not worthy of being listened to, okay? And what this actually does is this creates a state of stress inside of the victim. Here's another one while I'm thinking about it. They also, in public, they will walk a few paces in front of you, right? Again, they're the leader of the pack. You are behind them. They're the alpha, right? Or if you are working on a project together with them, they will insult your skills. They will make you feel that you are not qualified to be doing what you're doing because that gives them their power boost. It devalues you. It puts them into a position of authority in their mind, all right? So what is the point of all this? I started saying the point of this is to not only give them that powerful feeling, but in you, they want to release stress hormones inside of you. They want your cortisol to spike. And they want you to question your worth as a human being. They want you to think, what did I do to my abuser? Okay, because all of a sudden, this person who is giving you so much attention, so much compassion, so much care, you are getting your dopamine hits from them. All of a sudden, they withdraw that. They go silent. They're causing you pain. You're going to ask yourself, what did I do wrong? And that's exactly what they want. Now, this going back and forth between the love bombing stage and, the devaluation stage, it causes what is called a trauma bond. And we'll speak about that in 1 minute. But first, I want to explain one more thing. With the narcissist, the love bombing stage will be very intense and then they'll move into the devaluation stage, but it's not going to just continue in the devaluation stage. They're going to do something called breadcrumbing, okay? When you're in that devaluation stage and you're really questioning why they are, ignoring you, why they're treating you badly, whatever it is, they're going to let you sit with that for a while. And then all of a sudden they're going to come back and they're going to shower you with more attention, more love, more care, more kindness, more compassion. And then you're like, oh, okay, everything's okay. And then they're going to withdraw that again and go back into the devaluation. And they're going to breadcrumb again. It's going to be back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So what this does is creates a trauma bond, as I started saying. A trauma bond is when you know somebody is hurting you, but you can't seem to leave them. And the reason for this is because there is a chemical dysregulation that was created by the narcissist. They induced this chemical deregulation. What they did was they released the oxytocin and the dopamine inside of your head during the stages where they gave you so much attention, and then they withdrew it, and they caused your cortisol to rise. They caused your stress hormones to rise. And then they go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So your brain is constantly sending different messages to you. And a person who goes through this narcissistic abuse, they enter what is known as the narcissistic fog. They are so dysregulated that they have so much intense pressure inside of their head. And people who have gone through long-term narcissistic abuse, if you do a brain scan on them, many times they'll actually show up as having brain damage. The hippocampus will shrink, the amygdala will swell, their hormones will be completely dysregulated. It is abuse, and it is done with intention. These guys know exactly what they're doing. They might not know exactly how it works, but they do know that they're manipulating. And many of them take pleasure in it. And many of them, even if you educate them, they're still going to continue doing it because it gives them their power trip. At that point, the person is behaving incredibly wickedly by choice. Okay, some of them are redeemable. Some of them can change the behavior, but they are responsible for their wicked behavior, okay? The next stage after the evaluation is the discard stage. What this might look like is that they will build them up, they will compliment them, they will make them feel very good, they will start devaluing them, and then they will get what they want eventually. And then right after they get what they want, after they break that person, after having corroded their boundaries and coerced them into a relationship, then all of a sudden they will drop them. And they will leave that person writhing in pain with absolutely no closure, no explanation whatsoever. As we spoke a little bit about the trauma bond, it creates this chemical imbalance inside of the brain, this dysregulation. And what it does is it causes a person to be addicted, like a person can be addicted to heroin or cocaine. They're actually addicted to their abusers. So what happens is at the discard stage, when the abuser just all of a sudden disappears from their life, it could be for a short period of time, it could be 3-4 days, it could be 3-4 months, it could be for years at a time, then what the person is going through is they actually go through withdrawal symptoms. They are desperately seeking that person. They want their abuser back in their life. And even if they recognize what their abuser did to them, if they see how bad it was, they still want their abuser back. And many times they will reach out and they will apologize for the abuse. They will accept the guilt upon themselves. I'm so sorry I hurt you. I'm so sorry I caused you pain. It was my fault. I'm a bad person. That is a natural reaction. And this actually gives the narc, sorry, that's a pejorative term, and I will use it for an unrepentant narcissist, but for a person with NPD who is actually working on themselves, I would not use that term. I would say a person with NPD. But anyways, the unrepentant narc, they will actually enjoy this reactive abuse. They will put a person into a position where that person is groveling at their feet, saying, please take me back, I'm so sorry. And that actually is one of the things that, especially covert narcissists will do. They will, when they're grooming their victim, they will be implanting ideas inside of their mind. They will be corroding boundaries. They will be trying to make the victim believe that they're actually consenting to the abuse. So while they are hypnotizing a person, while they are leading a person towards a specific goal, they will actually be training the person also to verbally say that they want the abuse, or to mentally think that this is my fault. Right? Because a narcissist cannot deal with the guilt and the shame. They always have to project onto somebody else. They want the person who they have groomed to feel that they are responsible for the abuse that they're receiving. Right? And when you come back to them groveling and saying, take me back, because you're addicted to them, they're going to say, see, what I did was really not so bad. And this person's really the guilty party. It's a part of this sick and twisted mind game. Now, there is a fourth part of the relationship cycle when it comes to many narcissists. It doesn't always happen, but there's something called the Hoover. The Hoover is when, after the narcissist has dropped out of your life, they will reach out to you and they will try to get you back into the relationship. It happens very, very frequently. It can be something like a pocket dial. It could be something like sending a letter. It could be dropping into your place of business. It could be knocking on your door. It could be whatever it is. It's a Hoover. I want you part of my life again. Now, here's the thing. They don't really want you a part of their life. They want your supply. They want your admiration, your sex, your services, your safety. That's what they want from you. You as a person do not matter. And that's one of the things that makes narcissistic abuse so, so terrible, because it creates an incredible dissonance inside of the person. You see, the victim, they see two different people, right? They saw this amazing, charismatic, delicious person who they had so much respect and admiration for. That is one person. They saw this false persona and they loved it. They idolized it. And then once they reached the evaluation stage, they started seeing a completely different person, especially if they made it to the discard stage. That's when the mask really falls. People who have gone through the full cycle, they say, oh my gosh, the person at the end was a total monster, okay? So the person doesn't know who the real person is. Is the person the nice, kind, gentle, caring person, or is the person this total monster? And the brain cannot reconcile this. So there's this incredible split, this dissonance, just like is in the narcissist. And the person flips and flops back and forth. But they're so nice, they're so kind, they're so special, they're so talented, they're so great. But how they treated me? They're an absolute monster. What they did to other people? Oh my gosh, it's insane. The brain cannot handle this. But anyways, once the narcissist has lost interest in you for a period of time, they will do the discard, and then eventually they might decide that you still have something left to give them, so they will come back to you. But like I said, it is not because they actually care for you as a person. They care for what they can gain from you. And they might have those feelings of limerence for a while. They might have that idealization. They might really appreciate you in their own specific way for a period of time. But again, it's going to go through that same cycle. Love bombing, devaluation, discard, Hoover, love bombing, devaluation, discard, Hoover, and a lot of breadcrumbing in between those intermittent rewards to keep you addicted to them. All right, because narcissists target vulnerable people, they make really great cult leaders. These are the guys who ooze charisma, who are many times highly intelligent. They are masters of manipulation. They know how to speak to people. They know how to push your buttons. They're really good listeners in the love bombing stage. They seem to show great empathy, even though they can't really feel it themselves. Though at times they can, especially if they have BPD together with it, they can have more elevated levels of empathy, but even then, they're still going to behave really badly unless they get help. These guys love to start cults. They love to get followers. I mean, these are the people who are very frequently pastors in mega churches, founders of new religions, or they can even be leaders of non-religious do-gooder type of groups, right? You know, animal shelters, that sort of thing, whatever, anything that will give them a following, admiration, and a positive image. The narcissist really wants to display a positive image to the outside world. Now, narcissists who specifically go into the realm of religion or into the realm of do-gooding, they are called communal narcissists. I don't think that's a technical term, but it is a term that they are known by on the street. Communal narcissists, they are these people who will have special knowledge. They will show you how to connect to God, how to connect to goodness. And they want to be praised for their very moral exterior, okay? So these narcissists are definitely very, very good cult leaders. And the joke is that many times they don't believe at all in what they are teaching. They are just a completely immoral person inside. But they don't want you to know that. So part of the persona, the facade, the mask is that they're really a super special, religious, moral person in whatever capacity they are presenting themselves. Why might a narcissist go towards religion? Okay, so where else can you find a group of people who are looking for guidance, who are vulnerable, who are submissive? Right? These are just the perfect candidates for manipulation. They are looking towards these cult leaders, and they're willing to submit themselves, their money, their belief system to following this narcissist. But they don't realize that the person is a narcissist when it's in a religious setting, right? They will simply believe that this is a person who is endowed with special knowledge, and they will follow them wherever he leads them many times. But you have to realize that the narc is his own God, and God is devalued. God himself, the idea of God, the idea of a creator, the idea of morality is actually just a tool in order to get more supply. They will use this tool in order to bring people into their shared fantasy, into a relationship with them. Okay? It's part of the cult process. Now, I want to share with you 2 techniques that both narcissists will use on an individual level and cult leaders will use, because many of the cult leaders are narcissists, and they will simply take these behaviors and they will put it into a group setting, though sometimes the group setting will need different modifications. All right, so one of the things that narcissists will frequently do when they're trying to control a person is they will actually use sleep deprivation. Okay, this is a way to break down barriers, to make a person feel weak, to make a person where they don't make good decisions. So this can be in the form of messaging a person at weird hours. It can be in the form of making noises when the person is trying to sleep. And many narcissists actually keep very weird schedules. For some reason, it seems that narcissists go into their grooming stage usually around 11 o'clock at night, and they stay up throughout the night reaching out to different supply and grooming them. And here's the thing, narcs have many different supply chains going on. They're constantly grooming. They don't know which one is going to be leaving them or which one they're going to decide to discard. So they're constantly building up. So like, let's say a narcissist guy, he will have like five different people he's grooming at one time, right? Because he doesn't know what's going to happen and he wants to have that backup supply. And they can invest a lot of energy. They can spend a year grooming a person, hopefully getting to their result that they want, okay? So sleep deprivation is one of the tools. In a cult setting, this might look like, okay, they're having religious gatherings that just go on for 24 hours, whatever it is. They're singing, they're chanting, and that, religious experience can be very much trance-inducing as well, which serves a dual purpose. Okay, another technique that both individual narcissists and cult leaders will frequently use is to push the people that they are grooming towards medication or drugs in other forms. Now, what this can look like is the narcissist can show concern for your stress levels, concern for your sleeping. They can say it's very, very hard on the body, and I know you're going through so much. It can seem like they're being empathetic, but the narcissist has no care about what you're actually going through. The point of this, of pushing medication, is threefold. Number one, they want to see if you're going to be submissive to them, if you're going to take their lead, if you're going to follow them, if you are going to use them as a guide for life. Because if you're going to put medication into your body, that means that you might be susceptible to much darker things that they have in mind for you. Second reason for this is many times the narcissists themselves will be addicted to a medication, and they want to create a sense of likeness, and they want to put inside of you a feeling that you're somewhat unwell because it makes them feel better for being addicted and for being unwell. And that feeling of you being unwell is going to serve into their hand down the road as well, because towards the end they can say, oh, but you had anxiety. You told me that you had issues, right? And they're going to make you feel crazy, and they're going to turn it back, and they're going to use it as a way to make you feel inferior during the devaluation stage, okay? Another reason, very simply another reason that they will do this is because when you're medicated with a behavior or a mind-altering medication, you are easier to control. So if somebody comes along and they're very concerned for your stress levels or your sleep, or they want you to try a drug, whatever it is, to get a high out of it, you have to realize it's for a manipulative, dark purpose. Don't just jump to following somebody who outside the medical realm wants you to take medication. It's very, very serious. And there are other things that cults will do, and individual narcissists as well, in the love bombing stage, when you're flying high and you're feeling really good, you're feeling, oh, this person is so safe, this person really cares for me, then what will happen is they will try to be your support system. They will try to get you to open up, to reveal your deepest, darkest secrets to them. So you can be like, just totally free with them. Whatever you say will never be repeated. I'm always here for you, are the kind of things that you're going to hear. I'm so happy I could be there for you. You know, you're a dear friend. You're going to hear phrases like this. What they're actually trying to do is, number one, is they want to be your savior. They want you to be that place that they turn to. They want you to be the person that you rely upon. Number two, they want to create a sense of rapport with you. And rapport is when you feel completely in tune with the person. And of course, once that person feels very safe, you can fall into rapport much easier, okay? Another thing that they are trying to do is they are trying to extract information from you in order to blackmail you in the future. If you open up and you tell them a very dirty secret, something that you're ashamed of, if you ever try to leave the relationship, then they can say, 1 second, but I have dirt on you, right? And many times narcissists will actually, have cameras that they record you at your worst moments. They record you when you're doing something shameful, something that they forced you to do, reactive abuse. Or sometimes narcissists who are very, very immoral, very promiscuous, they might target a married woman. And if they manage to break her down and cause her to have an adulterous relationship with them, they might videotape that. And they will use it in the future to blackmail them and say, 1 second, I have information on you. If you try to get away from me, I will expose you. Right? They will air your dirty laundry, whatever it is. That's the way the mind of a narcissist works. You are an object and they are going to control you no matter what. So they will take you out and put you away as they please. You are just a plaything inside of their life. In the fantasy world of a narcissist, everybody is an object and they are a god. Everybody is to serve them and they are a god. Now they might not say that they are a god, but that's what they're feeling. They're feeling that they are to be worshipped. Again, in the world of communal narcissism, God is just a tool in order to get people to really come and join their cult and to worship them. So I definitely believe that Paul was a person who fit the diagnostic criteria of NPD, and he displayed the behaviors. And that is something that we are going to explore in the coming videos. Right now, it's just been a basic overview of narcissistic personality disorder, but we're going to go really deep. Okay, we're going to go in, we're going to examine his letters and how they hold up in the light of narcissistic personality disorder. We're going to learn a lot about the condition. We're going to learn about specific behaviors, behavior patterns, what to expect in a narcissistic relationship, and we're going to see how Paul basically was doing that, okay? And even if you don't agree with my assessment, at the end, at least you'll have learned more about this insidious form of abuse, and you will have gained tools to enable you to recognize when you are being manipulated. And we will do a video on how to heal from the manipulation, and I will provide you with some tools for learning further about this topic. Actually, right now, I will just tell you about 3 of them. You can look at Richard Grannon online on YouTube. He's absolutely amazing. He happens to be my favorite personal speaker on this topic. There's also Professor Sam Vaknin. He is a person who actually is a self-aware narcissist, and he exposes behaviors of narcissists. And there's Dr. Ramani, and I believe she actually suffered narcissistic abuse herself, and she went on to become a psychologist in this area, I believe, and she also exposes a lot of narcissistic abuse tactics. So this is a really fascinating topic that unfortunately I had to do a deep dive into myself. So let's bring light to very dark places. Let's examine the motives of Paul and the motives of master manipulators around the world. Give you the tools to recognize it and get out of it.